Week 10 waiver wire. Let's get it started. Do you have questions at quarterback? Don't worry, I got you. Been talking about the kid for weeks, Sam Howell. Back-to-back games with 19 or more points. 2 weeks ago, he had 32. If he's on your waiver wire, I think he's gonna be a solid start against Seattle. Joshua Dobbs with back-to-back games with 25 or more points. Last week was unbelievable that he was able to come in here and do work, but back-to-back games with 3 touchdowns, let's go. Baker Mayfield going up against Tennessee. If you're having trouble finding quarterbacks on your waiver wire, Baker Mayfield is most likely there. I think he should have a solid game against Tennessee. Make sure these quarterbacks aren't on your waiver wire right now. Kyler Murray. When Kyler Murray is on the field, he's a top 10 quarterback easy. I'm not thinking he's gonna be 100%, but you definitely want him on your roster if he's out there. Next up, Dak Prescott. Going up against the New York Giants. He's had 25 or more fantasy points in the last 3 games. I don't think it stops here. If he's out there, pick him up. And you know I had to talk about CJ Stroud. Man, this rookie is outrageous. 170 yards, 5 touchdowns on my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, scoring 42 fantasy points. Oh, go. Grab the kid if he's out there. He shredded my Bucks. He'll do well for you too. Are you weak at wide receiver? Don't worry, I got you. Number 1 on my list, Tank Dell. I've talked about him earlier this year. Gotta bring him back up. Tank Dell had an amazing game last week. 11 targets, 114 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And that last one put the nail in my Bucks coffin. Oh, Tank Dell's gonna be good. Pick him up. Jahan Dotson. He's had 8 or more targets in 3 straight weeks, 17 or more fantasy points in back-to-back games. I think he stays involved. Pick him up. Next up, Demario Douglas. 6 or more targets in 3 straight games, 11 fantasy points 2 out of the last 3 weeks. I think he's gonna get involved, and he's a solid start against Indy. I know Michael Wilson didn't do anything last week, but Kyler Murray coming back, his receivers are going to become more and more valuable. Michael Wilson proved that he could be a solid receiver earlier this year. I think Kyler Murray brings the best out of him. He's a nice stash. And last but not least, we got Noah Brown. Yes, he only got 6 targets, but he caught all 6 of them for 153 yards and a touchdown. 27 fantasy points. I don't think that his value is going to stay high, but with Robert Woods not playing, I do think that he is going to continue to get 5 or 6 targets. What he does with that, a little up in the air, but that last week's performance might have gotten him some more targets. Are you having a rough time at running back? Me too, but let's see what we can do. All right, we got Keaton Mitchell here, 9 carries for 138 yards. He's a backup running back on the Baltimore Ravens, but the kid's fast. Not excited about the Cleveland Browns matchup, but I do think that the team will get him more involved. And when you're fast, sometimes you can make a little something out of nothing. Next up, Antonio Gibson. Back-to-back games with 5 targets and 5 receptions. He's clearly getting involved in the passing game. Only 6 carries, but when you're getting catches as a running back, you could be a spot start. He was placed on the IR, but I believe he's gonna come off this week. He might be worth the stash. I don't know how excited I am to play him right after he returns, but I do think he's worth the speculative add, as well as Donta Foreman. I don't know if he's just gonna lose his role now that Herbert's back, but he had 20 carries. That's a lot for a running back. Definitely still worth the stash. Make sure your handcuff isn't on the waiver wire. It's the time of year where it's really important to have your backup running back just in case your starter goes down. Here's a couple I think you should keep an eye out for. Zach Charbonnet, Tajay Spears, Elijah Mitchell, Jalen Warren, Kendre Miller, Ezekiel Elliott, and Rico Dowdle. Now there's plenty more backups. I just wanted to give you some to name a few. If you got a starting running back and they're good, make sure you have their backup. You don't want to get somebody else a top 15 back, do you? Are you having a tough time at tight end? Don't worry, I got you. Taysom Hill, I've been telling you about him for weeks, and he's had 3 back-to-back fantastic weeks. Definitely worth a grab. He's getting involved in every facet of the game. Receiving, passing, rushing. This kid can do it all. Cade Otton, 9 targets last week. I don't expect him to get that every week, but it is promising that he'll get involved, and the 2 touchdowns didn't hurt either. Jonnu Smith, 6 targets last game, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Outrageous. He also had a rushing attempt, which was crazy. Arthur Smith just hates fantasy football. That man is wild. But Jonnu's a solid flyer if you need him. Tight ends that you need to make sure aren't on your waiver wire. Dalton Schultz. He's had multiple games this year with 10 or more targets. I don't think he's going to get 130 yards every week, but he's had a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games. Wild. Cole Kmet, back-to-back games with 18 or more fantasy points, 8 or more targets in back-to-back games. The man is getting involved. Gotta pick him up. And Jake Ferguson. Dak Prescott has his new security blanket. 10 targets this week. That's outrageous. I definitely think he's worth an ad, and he should be grabbed and started every week. Are you desperate for a defense? Don't worry, I got you. We're going back to the well with the Raiders. Going up against the other New York team, the Jets, who just got absolutely handled by the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers were one of my waiver wire picks last week. Just a little heads up. As were these Raiders, getting you 19 fantasy points. Let's go. Full transparency, did get a little nervous about the Raiders pick though, but they did come through. Green Bay Packers had 12 points against the Rams. It's probably because the Rams couldn't score any points, but Pittsburgh is not a good offense. So I don't think it's going to be a high-flying affair. I think the Green Bay Packers could be solid. Again, targeting bad offenses. The Chicago Bears. The Carolina Panthers suck. They threw 2 pick sixes last week. Yes, I know the Bears have had back-to-back awful defensive games, but they were playing the Chargers and the Saints. The 3 games before that, 10, 17. Now they get to face the Carolina Panthers, who just threw 2 pick sixes. Yes, please. Picking defenses is all about the matchups. Panthers suck. Start your Bears at home. So that's gonna do it for my waiver wire episode for week 10. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below. If you want more videos for week 10, don't worry, I got you.